Okay, I promised somebody I'd do this Reiki share today. Let me get that started first. And what I'm doing this Reiki share for is for children that lie and maybe why. Truthfully. Um, so, what this Reiki share is for children that are preyed upon or sexually molested, I guess would be another way to say that. And how they will tend to have an issue with it telling the truth after that. And I think I know why. I mean, what was pointed out to me is, well, what does a pedo rapist do? But they tell the child, don't tell anybody. So it's a lie of omission. It's imprinted upon them, right? They're traumatized and imprinted with this. You've got to tell a lie. You can't tell about this. So that creates a big psychological block in their minds, right? And then if they see, say, a parent lying about it or the person lying about it, but then they think that, well, it must be okay to lie about it because they're lying, then why shouldn't I lie? And so, I mean, you have that dynamic whether, especially if they're around their abuser, but let's say they're not. Say it's a child, another child has done this to them, or an uncle, or some family friend, or something like that. And you're just the caretaker of that child. You're the mother, or the father, or the stepmother, or the stepfather of that child. And you notice this behavior starting to happen. Well, then you have to think, what would cause that? And this is what I would say I would send the healing energy to, is to healing that whole situation. What we shouldn't do is make um, I'm calling on, by the way, all the Reiki masters past and present. This includes Yeshua. Mother Mary, I'm hearing, was also. The Magdalene was also a healer. Isis is a healer. Kuan Yin is a healer. Green Tara is a healer. The Emerald Dragon is a healer. Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Ariel, Sandalphon, and Metatron are all healers. They can bring healing to you. So we'll call them all in, because there's more than the three that I know of now that suffer from this mistaken idea that the lie is okay. I mean, it's almost like an epidemic in our society, right? Our politicians do it all the time. I mean, they're so when we fault our kids for doing it, and we should really look at the society. What lies are we telling? And we should stop doing that. We don't want our child to do that. Well, then don't display that kind of behavior. Be honest to yourself. Be honest to your kids. And I think things will go a lot better for you. So I push for that, is that people be more honest and adhere to the truth. The truth as it is, not as they would like it to be. And all this talk about men lactating and having babies. Well, men create babies, but they can't have babies unless they're pseudo men that came over from the female side and they still have their womb. Then they can have babies, but they're not really a man if they still have that equipment, right? Uh, so, or well, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's such a thing as a hermaphrodite. So, never mind. That argument is. So yeah, I guess that kind of man could, but that isn't a man. That isn't a. That is both, right? You know, that's both things. And yeah, maybe that could happen. Not sure how, but you know, hey. uh, well, I mean, that's a digression. That's getting off on things away from the issue here of healing a child of lying. And the reason we don't want our children to lie is because we want the word to be good. You know that they'll do better in business, in school, in their interactions with everybody. Because you know, if they grow up and keep on lying, and then we've really failed them. We failed them in a way that actually harms their soul. Um, we have to look at the child as another aspect of ourselves in one sense. So this is why you should treat people as you would like to be treated, or better yet, treat them as they would like to be treated. But yeah, I mean, you can't get your child to stop lying by yelling at him or saying that you want to, that you're going to put him out on the street. Um, I mean, I get as they get older. Yes, I mean, I see. You need to protect yourself, right? You can't have an abuse. You don't want to be in an abusive relationship with your kid, stepchild, or anything like that. That's not in the cards, right? Like I can see that, but we have to still treat them with love and send healing energy to them because they've got a problem, right? There's some reason why they're lying, why they can't, they abhor the truth or whatever. It's not how we normally would be. Okay. Um, it comes to that saying, honesty is the best policy, right? And it is. I mean, it's hard to remember a lie. All the details of a lie that you have to create. I mean, kudos for somebody who's really creative, but it's kind of a waste of your creativity, if you ask me. It's not a productive use of creativity. But still, I mean, you have to kind of remember that, and it's not something that you actually experience. It isn't the truth of what you experienced. It isn't the truth of what you did or anything like that. So it's far better, far easier, less energy involved in telling the truth. And it's all about also being a sovereign being, taking responsibility for what you've done. And so, advice to the caretakers, and I send healing to you too, because you're going to need to be healed in order to help this child. You're going to have to be coming from your most higher, best self in order to create a good example to the child of the behavior you want to mimic, that you want them to adopt. um, and it's just and then the first thing you have to do also is call them on the lie. It's you have to be honest, saying no, that's or how are you coming up with that um, answer? Is it based on the truth as you actually know it? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's probably too uh, ethereal for a young child. Okay, so yeah, I'm remembering this other thing that they were they were telling is Honoponopono, which is this series of statements. And there's a story I remember is this guy he came over from the islands and he was a new warden at a juvenile facility. So what he did, he took he had all the files for all those kids before he ever met any of them, and he set them on his desk, and he would take out a file without opening it, and he would say, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, and I love you." And he did that to all the files, and it reduced the number of attacks because they were having high attacks between the inmates and the staff. So reduce that, uh, and started to see some real progress in these kids. So, and they didn't even, I mean, they didn't even know that he did it, and they just that alone changed the situation. So if that works for him, of course, I mean, this is a tradition of this guy, so it's a little bit different than me just telling you, oh yeah, do it this way, and it should work. Well, it will. It will work. I mean, it does. It sets something out there in the ether, and you are a very creative person. You're a god, a goddess, and so you need to be very careful about the words that you use and how and the tone you set with those words. So I would say, especially with small children, is just to question them when you see that they're uh, telling a lie and try to work them into the truth. You know, and make sure this isn't just a subjective truth. I see it this way and you see it that way. I mean, but there's some objective truth in the middle of those two things, right? So that's what you have to agree on. That this is the objective truth here. That's your subjective truth over here, which is maybe closer to a lie than my objective or my subjective truth over here, a little closer to this thing that is the truth. So it is truth is a kind of a negotiation, right? Because we all see things from a different perspective. But you still, I can't. If I tell you the sun is shining and it's dark night out there, um, is that useful information to you? No, it isn't. And we should try to be honest about things that we can be called on for damn sure. But we really should just be honest all the goddamn time. I mean, this is my biggest thing about this whole thing that's going on right now. That we're we're dealing with. people that aren't telling the truth. And I don't know whether they're doing this because they have, like I said, had that particular issue done to them. I mean, I can see why that might be a trigger for them not uh, telling the truth. And I certainly am sorry about that happening to anybody. And please forgive me for any part I had in letting that happen, because I'm connected to it all. So I must have had some part in it, right? And I thank you. I thank you for considering this bigger in a bigger way, and know that I love you, because that's what every kid wants, right? Is to know that they're loved. At least I remember that, as I remember. But that's a long time ago. I'm not going to deny 67 years ago. But yeah, I do remember pretty early on that I wanted to be loved. I just want to be loved and respected and honored for what I did. That's all I really ever wanted. Really, was to be loved, to be acknowledged. And that's what I think is important that we do for each other. Is that we acknowledge each other. That we say hi to our people we pass in the street. That we do our very best to be compassionate and kind to people, for sure, and especially to our kids. Uh, Even when we know they're lying to us, don't, just a question mark. You know that they're telling the truth. So, explain that to me. Exactly how does that work? How do you come to that answer? What? This is what it seems like to me. So don't take it like you're lying and rah rah rah, because what is that going to do? That's going to put them on the defensive. Whereas you work them into the truth, and then we can get into we can have a discussion and get into the meat of the matter, the truth of the matter. And I think that's probably a better way to approach the problem. I know it takes a lot more work. Maybe you don't feel like you have the time, but for God's sakes, you brought this child into the earth. Make sure that they get the right um, tools to live a happy and healthy life. Because lying isn't a healthy life. I can tell you, because you're going to be always worrying about whether somebody's going to catch you in a lie. Is that any? Would I mean, this is why I don't lie, right? I try not to lie. I try to be as honest as I can be. I mean, I might not. If somebody asks me, "Do I look good in this blue dress?" I'm going to tell the woman, "Yes, you look fine." And if I love her, then I'm going to say, "Yeah, you look lovely." And that's not a lie, because I have this loving feeling, and that kind of colors her in my rose-colored glasses, right? So it can be, and maybe that isn't fair to her, because other people are going to look at it and say, "No, that color really doesn't work with you." And so I realize you can't just opt for a simple truth that doesn't encompass the whole thing, right? I know I'm getting way out there on the truth issue, but I mean, it is, we really have to be as truthful as we can be, other than well, if we want our kids to be truthful, we have to be, honest with them. And sometimes, we have to be brutally honest, okay? There is such a thing as tough love, it is, but it isn't, hey, if you keep on lying, I'm going to kick you out. Not when they're young children. I mean, sure. I mean, if you got to you've been working on this in the right way for, let's say, with a stepchild, and they came in at 7. So I mean, you don't know what happened to them before then, right? Um, and but they're doing this behavior, that they're acting out, as it were. Then you know that there's some kind of trauma that they're dealing with, and that they need to deal with them with compassion and love and kindness, and not um, well, I'm saying you should be tempered in your approach to this, and not, beat them for a lie, not berate them for a lie, but quite, call them on their lie. Yes, that's acceptable thing to do, I think. But maybe doing it in a way that they can kind of work through the process themselves might help. It just seems to me it might help. But hey, you've got to raise your kids, and it's tough when they're lying. Kids will do that because of the what fear, because they're afraid of the consequences. So if there's, or for a loss of love or something like that, not realizing that the lie also causes people to lose faith in them and not love them quite as much. Because people don't love their children unconditionally, I guess. I don't know. And it's hard to do. I mean, kids can do shit to you that nobody else could. You wouldn't put up with it from anybody else, right? That doesn't mean you have to put up with lying, and it doesn't mean you have to put up with stealing or anything like that. These are not behaviors that we want our kids to have. We don't want people in society to have these characteristics. This is not a what we call good character building, right? So I send energy to that process, working out in a way that actually helps heal the problem. And if you find that your child has, or the child that you're dealing with has had this issue, then you want to enlist some help on that, dealing with that. Because in the issue of sexual abuse, sexual molestation of a minor, that's a trauma. That's a big ass trauma that kid has gone through, and it totally shifts their worldview. That puts them into the adult phase super quick, right? Though not, they aren't mature enough to actually handle that role. This is why we say don't do it to young people under 18, right? And 18 isn't even really old enough yet, because your brain doesn't mature until 24. So this is why we have age limits on these things, because we just think this is morally correct. And I tend to say, so do the angels say, yeah, that seems good with us. They can remember a time when it was only 16. They don't ever remember a time that it was 12, though. So, yeah. Not that I'm advocating that that's okay either. I mean, I don't. But that there is that whole thing of sweet 16. So I guess it was norms change over the years, I guess is what they're trying to say on this, and that they see the trend of making it older as better. And I'm getting a big yes on that. So, um, yeah. So there we go. I mean, this is what I find, um, amusing on this particular issue. And I mean, I know that it is really tough, especially if the lie is predicated on something like the original premise of this healing. And this isn't the only way that trauma can come in, right? Or this dynamic can be set up, because it also can be set up by a parent that lies all the time, and the child sees that they lie, so they figure, well, if they lie, why can't I? The child will mimic you. They mimic your behavior. That's the learned behavior. They see, monkey do. Your monkey will do as you sees you do. So don't berate your monkey for lying when you lie, all the time. And you might want to look at yourself and say, well, what causes me to have this pathological need to lie? Why am I like that? And I send healing to that aspect too, because it is mostly predicated upon some kind of trauma. Uh, there's got to be a benefit in the lie, right? Or else you wouldn't expend that extra energy that you need in order to tell said lie. So it's not a natural behavior for any creature to do something in a more energy, something that takes more energy than it needs, that it should be expending when there's an easier way to do it. Um, and the truth is always easier, no matter what, folks. Um, now, back in the day, I mean, I'm advocating something that I didn't experience. Okay, I'm going to be straight up honest with you, because if I got caught in a lie, I'd get a beating, folks. I'd get more trauma added on that. But it did work on me because I didn't like getting spanked. I did not like reaching over and grabbing my ankles so that my ass could get beat. No, not by my dad, because he's a big ass man, and that belt, you could swing that belt pretty fucking hard. So no, I didn't. I didn't lie because it was, it was painful. The trauma that I received was worse than the trauma that caused me to lie. But that they catch a child early on, that might work. But that's only if you don't tell lies all the time. Again, so I mean, it goes back to the chicken or the egg. Which comes first? Well, obviously, the person that lies all the time around the kids is also probably had issues, uh, some kind of trauma that has caused them to think that let's shut off that switch that says this is the easier way, and I'll go the hard way. I'll dream up a lie that seems better than the truth. I don't know. Maybe it's a challenge to some people. Knowing that there is some people that just do it because it is. They feel like it makes them superior to other people if they can fool you with a lie, if they can manipulate you with a lie. And what does our society do? Our press obviously is doing that. we call it propaganda, but it's a fucking lie. Yeah, propaganda is a lie. It's a slanted truth. If it's got any basis in truth, this ministry of misinformation or disinformation is a lie. Um, they're pushing their subjective truth and not the truth, not even close to the truth. So it depends on how far your subjective truth is from the truth of the matter, the objective truth, as to whether we deem it a lie. And if it is got no relation, or it is not in the orbit of truth, which is a pretty short orbit, really, you're going to have to call that a lie or misinformation. Now, we experience in this society is that we don't know what the truth of the matter is. I mean, we know certain things. We know half truths. We know partial truths. So I can see where a kid, if they're actually paying attention to what's going on in the adult world, they're gonna think, "What's the big deal about telling the truth? You just don't like the way I'm creating it, So I'll get better at this. That's not the kind of behavior I promote. So you're kind of in between the rock and the hard place when you're dealing with this issue, because you've got, maybe you know the kid from birth and you know that they weren't, well, you might not know that. You may think you know that, but you might not know that. Because our kids, once they go to school, they're out of our sight for, what, 6 to 8 hours. Depending on whether they're taking a bus or not. So, a lot of shit can happen to a kid in that time. And we've seen that not all teachers are exactly what you would call exemplary people. They have their issues, right? We all have our issues, I know. I can't heal everything from everybody, even though I'd like to. But we're going to address this issue of the lie. I hope that I made a fairly good argument for treating it with a little bit more love and compassion. Especially if you want to heal the child so that they don't feel like they have to lie anymore. You have to set up an environment where they are honored for telling the truth. Even if they've done something wrong, then the punishment shouldn't be, more trauma, because, to reinforce, well, maybe I shouldn't tell the truth because I get beaten for it. So, yeah, there's different ways you can, but beating the child for the lie is not conducive to them stopping to lying. Anyway, I hope those thoughts help somebody out there that's dealing with this issue. Give you some pause for thought as about how you might go about dealing with the issue, and that you have the energy to do it in the best way for both you and the child, right? Because it's a two-way street. You've got to take care of the child, so it's better for you if the child doesn't lie to you, especially about something like that. If they're being abused, you definitely need to know that, and just so you can stop it. So you really want to promote that your child can tell you anything, and what you're not going to react, but you're going to respond. And I send energy and healing to you so that you can do that. All right. So I guess that's about all I can say for it. We'll end here with some. I'm hoping that this comes through. These healing sounds. I guess I have a light code for this. Thank you, Archangel Gabriel. Tishu Turunkatasa Pasanchatatasa Chutala Gatasa Huta Katatata Patata Kanta Chucha Katatata Sasa Baka Chuchuka Kuta Se Untara Tantara Hutara Husha Trecha Hala Kutu Uletta Shantasa Patata Pampa Kujasha Ula Anru Gula Tara Trute Truta Tre Shula Sela Husha Husha. So that's a Nokian, I'm being told, somewhat. And it's supposed to aid the parent in doing the very best by their child. So this is, I guess this is more for the parents or the caretakers of these children. Because it's not, maybe it isn't always the parent that's doing this. So this would be grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, brothers and sisters, older brothers and sisters that are having to do this because of they're the only decent person in the family or whatever, and you're stuck. You've got this child now, and you're trying to raise them, and to be an honest person. Then that activation right there will help you come from the very best place. And try to be as kind and compassionate with the child as you can be. You can't. You have to set boundaries, and if that's one thing that you don't want to do, then you have to promote in the child and let them know that you will love them, irregardless of what they say. That the truth, if they are saying the truth, then you will love them unconditionally, and they will not lose your love. for admitting to, what they did. I mean, it's a sin only in the sense that they missed the mark, and they shouldn't be faulted for missing the mark. They should be said, well, this is how you correct, so that you come in on the truth here. This is the truth that we all can agree to, and you don't have to be creating something that we're going to. I mean, because how would you know that the child is lying unless they're not doing a very good job of it, right? So you shouldn't really fault them for it. It's not like it's a child that can lie to you and you don't even know that they're doing it. That's where you got a problem, right? So the child is lying because they're afraid. Um, you have to allay that fear first and get them into a place of safety and trust. That no, we're not going to lie about this. We're going to have a truthful discussion about it, and there would probably be consequences, but they're not going to be onerous. They're going to be measured and appropriate. So if you've stolen something, then you have to give the thing back and offer compensation, right? Apologies and things like that. That's a far better thing to do than to lie about that, right? If it's well, I mean, there's so many things that kids can lie about, right? A drop plate. Well, no, it wasn't me. It was the cat. Um, that's pretty. That would be a good lie because the cats sometimes do that shit. Uh, so, but if hey, the cat was outside all day, and the kid's saying that, and he was the only one that came in, so I mean, still, you've got to have some. If you're going to have this discussion with them, you have to have some reason why you think they're lying, right? Either what they're telling you is obviously a lie because you see the evidence of it. Their little pudgy fingerprints are on the counter after they got into the cherry pie, right? So you might. I mean, you have to show them there's consequences for that, but maybe the consequence is just that they don't get any more pie. They they lose. They lose on that score, but they don't. They're not beaten. They're not. There isn't anything that's going to don't add trauma to the to the deed, right? Because that's only going to make it worse, in my eye. Um, but I mean, just because that's what my father did to me, I don't know whether that works all the time. I don't know whether that would work with anybody but me. Maybe it's just me that. Well, I mean, it's, this is the thing. I mean, I don't lie very well. I just don't. Because I'm trying to be coming from my true self all the time. I can't really see telling you a mistruth. That wouldn't be me, right? So I don't know. I mean, I think there are people that are more honest than other people, right? Um, have I always been that honest? No. I've probably told. I know I've probably told lies. No, I've told lies because I got beat for it. So I knew, I went through that. But that was the way kids were raised back then. And we're in a different time, and I'm trying to acknowledge that you have to do things differently than how my father did them. Right? That's my father's time. This is our time, right? We're in the mix now, and we've got to chart these courses in possibly a better way, because we want these kids to rise up and be fifth dimensional citizens, um, new Earth citizens, right? So we have to raise them to be honest and to be well. I guess we don't. I take that back. I guess some of you people are just going to continue on being in the 3D, but your 3D world is falling apart, folks. I don't know whether you notice that. This is why Klaus Schwab thinks you're going to be homeless and happy about it. Own nothing and be happy about it. Yeah. Well, here's the thing: you got to own your own body, folks. And you got to own your own words, right? So I send healing to anybody that feels the need to lie. And I'm telling you, it's easier to tell the truth. Simpler for sure. You don't have to remember all sorts of crap that you needed to make your lie look plausible. So anyway, we got to go. Uh, I'll keep the distant going for a little bit here as it loads up and I publish it. And yeah, if you have any other ideas for me to do a Reiki share for, please leave a comment down below. I appreciate input. Uh, if you feel like what I said helped, that also helps. If you let me know that. If you share it, that really helps because that gets it out to other people. And if you're new to my channel, though not too many are to this channel, it's pretty small, I know, but it's subscribe. Subscribe. I definitely would appreciate that. Because the more people that subscribe, the more videos I'll do on this channel. Um, I have to say, it's kind of makes me think that my Reiki shares aren't too well appreciated. And maybe that's because I'm dreaming up the things that I'm doing, and people aren't relating to it. So there again, share your comment in the comments about things you feel need healing. It doesn't matter what it is, I will try to tackle it. As I try to tackle this problem as the best that I can see, saying the things that the spirit said directed me to say. And yeah, I'm happy to work on anything, folks. Especially if I get two or three people saying the same thing, then that's a no-brainer, right? So help me out a little bit here. I can use help, and I'll ask for it, by God. Not something I normally do, folks. This is a rarity, so make note of it, and leave a comment. We will talk to you later. And much love from my heart, from all the Reiki masters, past and present, from the angels, from Yeshua, Mother, Kuan Yin, Green Torah, the Emerald Dragon. We all love you. We all love you unconditionally. How you are and how you are becoming. And may on the day of the event, may you be able to weather that just fine and come out on top.